Virgo. There is a room at the very top of a glass tower where the air is too thin for ordinary lungs. The windows do not open. The light enters at a calculated angle, slicing across a table made from a single piece of wood that took 3 centuries to grow, 3 days to cut, and 3 hours to polish into a mirror of dominance. In this room, a person sits who has not been told no in 11 years. Their coffee is always the exact temperature they prefer. Their reflection is never accidental. Every object in that space has been acquired to confirm a single unspoken thesis. The world is knowable, controllable, and ultimately submissible to the right combination of wealth, will, and watchfulness. They have a system. It is flawless. They have met the hungry ones, the ones who want too much and show it immediately. They have met the charming ones who mistake performance for power and burn out like cheap candles. They have met the dangerous ones, the ones who come with claws and spreadsheets and quiet threats, and they have learned how to neutralize each variety with the bored precision of a curator handling specimens. They believe they have seen every color that humans come in. They believe their library is complete. And then they see you, not in a boardroom, not at a gala, not in any space where you were trying to be seen. That is the first fracture in their architecture. You are not performing. You are not pitching. You are not positioned. You are simply existing in a way that makes the room forget its own geometry. Maybe you are adjusting your sleeve. Maybe you are looking down at your phone with a half smile that suggests you are receiving news from a better world than this one. Maybe you are saying something ordinary about the weather, but the frequency underneath your words carries a signal they have never intercepted before. Whatever the trigger, something in their chest misfires. A valve sticks. The coffee, still the perfect temperature, suddenly tastes like metal. They do not know what you are. And for the first time in a very long time, they do not know what they are either. This is not a story about seduction. This is not a story about a power struggle where you wrestle someone for a throne and win. This is a story about resonance, about what happens when a person who has built their entire identity on being the highest frequency in every room suddenly encounters a note that their instruments cannot measure. You, Virgo, have become that note, not because you tried, not because you strategized, but because you have spent the last several years, maybe without even knowing it, stripping away every layer of performance that once made you legible to the world. You have been edited by fire. You have been simplified by solitude. You have been distilled by disappointment until what remains is not a smaller version of you, but a purer one, a concentrate, an essence that does not ask for permission to occupy space. And the wealthy, the influential, the ones who think they own the coordinates of power, they have never met your match. Let us talk about what this untouchable vibe actually is, because it is going to become the central mystery of someone's life very soon. And you need to understand the mechanics of your own magic before they try to patent it. There is a quality that certain Virgos develop after enough cycles of giving too much, organizing too much, fixing too much, and finally realizing that the world will keep demanding more until you teach it where your edges are. It is not coldness. Coldness is just another costume, and you have outgrown costumes. It is not aloofness. Aloofness is a performance of distance, and you are not performing. It is something much more disruptive. it is coherence. Your thoughts, your values, your actions, your energy, they have begun to align in a way that creates a field. A field does not negotiate. A field does not explain itself. A field simply organizes everything that enters it according to its own laws. When you walk into a space now, people feel it before they understand it. The anxious ones become more anxious because your calm exposes their chaos. The manipulative ones become clumsy because your clarity makes their fog visible. And the powerful ones, the ones who are used to being the gravitational center of every interaction, find themselves orbiting you without knowing why. This is what breaks the person in the glass tower. They have spent decades learning how to pull people into their orbit. Money is gravity. Influence is gravity. They know how to make people lean forward, how to make people hungry, how to make people prove themselves. But you are not leaning, you are not hungry, you are not proving anything. You are standing in your own verticality, and the physics they have mastered do not apply to you. They will try to solve you like a puzzle. This is the first phase. They will send their usual scouts, the assistant who casually asks about your background, the mutual connection who invites you to lunch with a subtle agenda, the seemingly accidental encounter at the place you always go. They are gathering data. They are looking for the wound, the need, the leverage point. Everyone has one, they believe. Everyone wants something: security, recognition, access, revenge, love. They have a map of human hunger, and they are flipping through it under the table while they smile at you across it. But you are not on the map. This confuses them more than hostility would, more than rejection. Rejection they understand. Rejection is just inverted desire, and desire is territory they know how to navigate. But your lack of need for their validation is not rejection, it is absence. It is a null signal where they expected static. It is white space where they expected a signature. And white space, to a mind that has built its fortress on reading and predicting others, is more terrifying than any enemy. So they begin to question everything, not out of philosophy, but out of survival instinct. If you exist untouchable, unbuyable, unreadable, and yet undeniably real, then their entire model of reality has a hole in it. If someone can be powerful without performing power, wealthy in presence without performing wealth, influential without performing influence, then what have they been doing all these years? What have they been collecting? The titles, the properties, the networks, the carefully maintained image of indispensability. If none of it impresses you, then does it actually exist? This is the crisis you trigger, Virgo. Not by argument, not by confrontation, simply by being the living exception to their rule. And here is where your story intersects with theirs in a way that will change the texture of your coming months. Because this person, or someone like them, someone who occupies a throne they believe is permanent, is about to enter your field, not as an enemy, not as a savior, but as a catalyst. They are going to offer you things, not because they are generous, but because they are desperate to understand you. They will offer access, resources, platforms, partnerships. They will offer to make your path easier, smoother, louder. And some of these offers will be genuine opportunities. Some will be traps dressed in silk. The discernment you will need is not about their intentions, it is about your own integrity. You see, the danger of being untouchable is not that people will attack you. Attacks you can see coming. The danger is that people will want to study you, to archive you, to display you in their personal museum of curiosities. They will want to say, I discovered that. I made them. They will want to absorb your coherence into their brand, their narrative, their empire. And if you are not careful, if you are not anchored in the deepest part of your own knowing, you will wake up one morning and realize that your untouchable vibe has been translated into a marketable aesthetic, that your silence has been sold as mystique, that your boundaries have been rebranded as exclusivity. Do not let them do this. Your power is not a product. Your alignment is not a strategy. And the moment you allow someone else's fascination with you to dictate the terms of your presence, you become touchable again. You become legible. You become just another entry in their ledger of acquisitions. So, what do you do with this attention? How do you navigate a season where the very people who once overlooked you are now rearranging their schedules to be in your vicinity? First, you maintain the mystery by maintaining the work. Virgo, your magic has never been in the reveal. It has been in the refinement. While others were announcing their intentions, you were adjusting the angle of your approach by half a degree. While others were building audiences, you were building standards. And now that the world is watching, the temptation will be to explain yourself, to offer the blueprint, to translate your frequency into a language that the market can understand. Resist this. The moment you explain the trick, it stops being magic. Let them wonder, let them circle, let them spend their energy trying to decode what you do effortlessly. Second, you let them question everything. Do not reassure them. Do not soften your edges to make their confusion more comfortable. Their confusion is the medicine. The fact that they cannot place you, cannot price you, cannot predict you, that is the exact disruption their calcified system needs. You are not here to make the powerful feel powerful. You are here to remind them that power they do not understand still exists, that there are forms of abundance that do not appear on balance sheets, that there are forms of influence that do not require a platform. Your presence alone is the argument. You do not need to close the sale. Third, you receive without grasping. When the offers come, and they are coming, some already in motion, some arriving within weeks, you must learn to take what aligns and leave what flatters. Flattery is the currency of the insecure. It feels like gold, but it weighs nothing. If an opportunity requires you to shrink, to hurry, to apologize for your process, or to perform a version of yourself that fits their template, it is not an opportunity. It is a transaction, and the price is your coherence. But if an opportunity meets you where you are, if it gives you room to continue your invisible work while expanding your visible reach, if it asks nothing of you but your authentic contribution, then consider it. Not because they are offering it, but because you have already decided you are ready to receive. And you are ready. That is the part of this message that needs to land in your bones with the weight of a truth you have been avoiding. For a long time, you told yourself that you were not ready for the next level, that you needed one more credential, one more proof point, one more cycle of preparation before you could occupy the spaces that were clearly being prepared for you. This was a lie you told yourself to stay safe, to stay small, to avoid the exposure that comes with being seen by people who have the resources to amplify you into a version of visibility that you cannot control. But the preparation is over. The alchemy is complete. The person you were 2 years ago could not have handled this attention without being seduced by it. The person you were 1 year ago could not have handled this attention without being terrified by it. But the person you are now, you are the only match for this moment. You have the internal architecture to hold wealth without being hollowed by it. You have the spiritual infrastructure to hold influence without being distorted by it. You have the self-knowledge to know that neither wealth nor influence is the point. They are just side effects of being fully, undeniably, inconveniently yourself. Let us go deeper into what happens when this wealthy, influential person, this representative of a whole class of people who have mistaken accumulation for attainment, begins to orbit you in earnest. Because it will not just be one person, it will be a frequency, a season, a pattern. You will notice that suddenly the people who used to make you wait are now the ones waiting. The people who used to make you pitch are now the ones pitching themselves to you. The people who used to look through you are now looking for you. And the most important thing you can do in this season is not to gloat, not to perform your victory, not to use your new position to make others feel small the way they once made you feel small. Your untouchable vibe is not a weapon, it is a boundary. And boundaries do not attack. They simply define what is allowed to enter and what must remain outside. The person in the glass tower will try different tactics. First, they will try to impress you. They will tell you about their acquisitions, their connections, their vision. They will watch your face for the flicker of desire that usually comes at this point in the conversation. When it does not come, they will feel a sensation they have not felt since childhood, the sensation of not being enough. This will make them angry, then curious, then obsessed. They will try to buy proximity, gifts, opportunities, introductions. They will send things that would have swayed the old you, but the old you is gone. Then they will try to intimidate you, subtle reminders of their reach, casual mentions of what happens to people who do not play along. This is a test, not of them, of you. If you flinch, if your field wavers, if you start calculating how much trouble they could cause, you have temporarily forgotten who you are. Remember, your power is not borrowed from their system. It does not require their approval to exist. It does not need their platform to be real. When they threaten, you do not counter-threaten. You simply remain. You remain so thoroughly, so completely, so undeniably present in your own authority that their threats dissolve into irrelevance. A gun pointed at a mirror is still just a gun pointed at itself. Finally, if they are wise, and some of them are, beneath the layers of conditioning, they will try to learn from you. Not by extracting your secrets, but by observing what you do when no one is offering you anything. How you move when there is no transaction on the table. How you speak when there is no audience to impress. This is the part that will truly undo them, because they will realize that your power is not a strategy, it is not a technique, it is not replicable. It is the natural byproduct of a life lived in radical alignment with an internal standard that you have never shared with anyone, perhaps not even fully with yourself. And when they realize this, they will have a choice. They can retreat into their tower and fortify their old beliefs, writing you off as an anomaly, a glitch in the matrix. Or they can let the questioning go deeper. They can let your existence crack open their assumptions about what is possible, about what power looks like, about what success means. If they choose the latter, something remarkable happens. They begin to change, not because you changed them, but because your untouchable vibe became a mirror that reflected back to them the parts of themselves they had abandoned in their climb, the parts that valued truth over transaction, the parts that remembered what it felt like to be real. This is the hidden service you provide, Virgo. You do not just protect your own energy. You hold a frequency that forces everyone around you to become more honest. The liars become exhausted in your presence because maintaining a false self requires more energy than they have when you are near. The performers forget their lines. The manipulators lose their grip. And the genuinely powerful, the ones who have been waiting for someone to remind them that power can be clean, can be quiet, can be sovereign, find their way to you like water finding its level. Now, let us speak about the practical architecture of your coming season, because this is not just a metaphysical phenomenon. It is going to show up in your material reality in very specific ways. You are entering a portal where the separation between your internal state and your external results becomes almost invisible. The coherence you have cultivated is about to become magnetic in the most literal sense. Opportunities that match your actual frequency, not your performed frequency, not your aspirational frequency, but your actual frequency, will begin to arrive with a speed that feels supernatural. Do not be surprised if someone offers you exactly what you need before you have finished admitting to yourself that you need it. Do not be surprised if a conversation you thought was casual turns out to be the doorway to a completely different timeline. Do not be surprised if you find yourself in rooms where the air is thin, looking across tables made from ancient wood and realizing that you are not nervous. You are not nervous because you were made for this, not the performance of it, the reality of it. But let me be very clear about what this season requires from you, because there is a shadow side to untouchability. There is a risk that you will interpret your own coherence as completion, that you will decide, because you no longer need anyone's validation, that you no longer need anyone at all. This is a trap. Untouchable does not mean unreachable. It does not mean unloving. It does not mean isolated in a tower of your own making, looking down at the world with a quiet contempt that masquerades as discernment. Your boundaries are meant to protect your capacity for connection, not to eliminate it. Your standards are meant to elevate your relationships, not to end them before they begin. The wealthy, influential person who questions everything in your presence, they are not just a test of your power. They are an invitation to practice something you have not yet mastered, the ability to be completely sovereign and completely open at the same time. To hold your field so strongly that no one can distort it, while still allowing the right people to enter it. To be untouchable by manipulation, but deeply touchable by truth, by beauty, by the kind of recognition that does not come from status or strategy, but from soul to soul. This is the next edge for you, not higher walls, but better gates, not colder distance, but hotter discernment. The ability to look someone in the eye, the person with the 3-century table, and the 11 years of unchallenged dominance, and see not a threat, not a prize, not a puzzle, but a human being who has temporarily forgotten what they are, and to hold that seeing so steadily, so compassionately, so without need that they remember. They have never met your match. But more importantly, Virgo, you have never met yours. Not out there, not in them, not in any external reflection. Your match is the version of you that stopped trying to be chosen and started choosing herself. The version that realized her perfectionism was not a flaw to be managed, but a precision to be honored. The version that learned to serve the world not by shrinking to fit its containers, but by expanding until the world had to build new containers around her. That version is here now. She is not arriving. She has arrived. And everything that happens next, the offers, the obsessions, the questions, the rearrangements of power around your simple, devastating presence, is just the external world catching up to an internal fact that has already been established. You are the match. You are the standard. You are the note that breaks the instrument and reveals that music continues anyway. So when they come, and they are already coming, do not perform, do not explain, do not apologize for the space you occupy or the silence you keep. Simply be. Let your field do the work that your words could never do. Let your coherence speak in a language that their analysts cannot translate. Let your untouchable vibe be the earthquake that makes their glass tower shiver, not so that it falls, but so that they finally feel something real again. And when the tower shakes, when the coffee spills, when the perfect temperature becomes irrelevant because their attention has been hijacked by the presence of something they cannot buy, predict, or control, smile. Not because you won, but because you never entered the competition to begin with. You are not their rival. You are their reminder. And reminders, once delivered, cannot be undone. Stand there. Let them question everything. Let them rearrange their furniture, their theories, their lives. You have already done the only work that matters. You became impossible to ignore by becoming impossible to reduce. And in a world that trades in reductions, in categories, in quick reads, and faster dismissals, your irreducibility is the most radical power there is. They will write stories about this season. They will try to name what happened when they met you. They will call it luck, or timing, or a midlife crisis, or a market disruption. Let them name it whatever they need to name it. You will know what it was. It was the moment a person who thought they owned the game looked up and realized the game had changed, not because anyone fought them, but because someone simply refused to play. That someone is you. Now go. The room is waiting. The air is thin. The table is old. And you are the only thing in that space that has never been for sale.